I looked right straight through across from over here, and I saw this black head pop up.
What the did I just see? What the was that? Oh my god. Oh, I just saw something like sitting in the bush next to the tree.
Chasing legends can be deadly, especially when they're watching. Tonight, we uncover terrifying encounters from the shadowed forests of the Pacific Northwest to the hidden valleys of Hawaii, where Bigfoot, Sasquatch, and the elusive Menehune make their presence known. Each story is a chilling reminder. No matter how prepared you think you are, something unseen may be tracking your every move. Travel Channel follows the investigation to the BFRO, the Bigfoot Field Researchers Organization, one of the most trusted teams documenting Sasquatch encounters. Experienced investigators, remote locations, eyewitness reports, thermal scans, physical evidence. When something unexplained appears, BFRO steps in to find out. Is it a known animal or something that defies explanation?
What do you suppose that is? Holy what is that?
It's emanating a lot of heat, whatever it is.
Right away. And we had a pretty good size heat signature on it.
Only an animal would give a heat signature like that, but it's not moving.
This is odd.
Not sure what it is, but there's a possibility this could be a Bigfoot laying down in its nest.
Bears have been known to lay for quite a while, especially after they've eaten. Could it be a really big bear?
Freaking huge bear.
At first, no one could explain it. They checked every known animal, but nothing matched the size. The evidence didn't fit. Questions grew louder. One thing was clear: they had to get closer.
We had no idea what we were looking at, but went through all the different possibilities of the animals that are here, and nothing matched that size.
I'd like to find out what it is.
Oh, we have to go out there.
Whatever left that sign was still out there, and it couldn't be ignored. In broad daylight, the team enters a thick, overgrown area, almost impossible to move through. The sun is out, but the place feels wrong. Quiet, heavy, unsettling. As they move carefully, they stop. Something ahead doesn't belong. Curiosity turns to concern. The investigation just took an unexpected turn.
This is just a creepy spot. Follow me. What is that? Look at this thing.
The discovery stops them cold. This is the sign they've been waiting for, and time is running out. Old techniques are set aside, no room for error. Using advanced scanning tech, they record every detail before it fades. Whatever left this mark wanted to stay hidden. But now, its trace may finally tell the story.
There it is. All right, well, then let's pull out the scanner.
Scanner?
Moving through the underbrush, a tiny clue appears. A single strand, easy to miss, but impossible to ignore. Carefully handled, it doesn't match any known animal. Every second, the mystery grows, and the feeling of something unseen, just beyond sight, becomes almost unbearable.
There's some hair right here. There's one little hair. This is interesting. It's definitely not deer, not bear, certainly not elk. I don't know what.
Careful now. They adjust their angle. Then, a sudden stop. Something unusual lies on the ground. Closer inspection, a strange collection of materials, almost like a hidden nest. Curiosity spikes, unease spikes. Every step edges them closer to something extraordinary and unsettling. Whatever left this behind is watching, and it's not making itself easy to find.
Yeah, if you can lean it down a little.
And that's a little further away.
Whoa. What is that on the floor? That's interesting.
Oh, wow. What is that?
Does that look like nesting materials?
Possible, sure.
Move in a little closer.
Isn't that the weirdest thing? Unbelievable.
Edging to the side, scanning for movement, and then a massive heat signature in the center of the clearing. Its size, unlike anything they've ever seen. Frozen, impossible to ignore. Every instinct screams danger. Could it be Bigfoot? The forest tightens around them, alive with unseen eyes.
I'm gonna run to the side here and see if anything else has any heat.
Ooh. Hey, look at that. Look. Right here, right in the center.
It's right there. Oh, look, it's moving.
What the heck? Holy.
That's right. What in the heck is that?
That looks like a Bigfoot.
The question hangs heavy. What did they just witness? One thing is clear. Whatever left that massive presence is unlike anything they've seen before. A force they may never understand. Who will dare return to this shadowed territory? Or is some part of the wild meant to remain untouched? On Salish Sasquatch, the forests hide more than shadows. One man shared years of encounters from Washington State, but one story still haunts him. The night his family in Fort Bragg was followed all the way home. He saw it firsthand. Was it just an animal, or something far darker, watching from the night?
The following interview is of a man that reached out to us a few weeks ago. He has been collecting Sasquatch stories from Washington State for quite some years now. And also, if you've ever heard of the Fort Bragg incident that happened in California where the Sasquatch attempted to follow the family into the house, that's his family's story, and he heard it firsthand from them when he was 15 years old.
John Bowers, Jack to most, has carried this story his entire life. 7 decades of memory, tracing back to his aunt's family in Fort Bragg. Long before Bigfoot was a term, strange signs appeared in these forests. In 1958, a man found massive footprints along a remote California grade. No explanation, no reference. He called them the Shadow Giants. From that moment, a mystery was born, one that would collide with Jack's own family history.
Semi-important thing. My name is John Bowers. Jack, they call me, has been for 76 or 7 years of my life. We had an incident in 1962 with my aunt's folks down in Fort Bragg, California. And that's what we'd like to talk about today and record that for posterity and for truth. In 1958, a gentleman walking one of the grades in California came across a line of big feet. And for lack of understanding, he labeled it big feet. And that's where that part of it started, the Bigfoot issue.
A dark, stormy February night, rain hammering the roof, moon slipping behind clouds. A figure moved inside the house. Then Jack's aunt froze at the front window. Something enormous was climbing the fence. Its size, impossible to ignore. Time seemed to stop. Whatever it was closer than anyone imagined.
In the middle of this particular night in February, it had been raining, and I don't know if the moon was out or if the moon would come and go as it often does by way of the cloud cover coming in and going out. But Angie got up and went through the living room to the bathroom. They had one bathroom, and she happened to look out the front window, and something huge was climbing over her fence, and she just automatically, not knowing any difference and having no backup information, she just thought it was a bear.
Middle of the night, a sudden movement in the garden, At first, it looked like a bear, but something was wrong. One stepped closer, heart pounding. The darkness felt alive. Every instinct screamed they were not alone and might never be again.
In the meantime, Bob got up and asked, what's going on? She says, there's a bear in the garden. And he says, well, I'll just go outside and yell at it. So he went that direction. Bud came out of the room. He says, I got the shotgun, but where's the shells? And she says, I don't know, I moved them. And so they didn't have, they had the shotgun, but they had no shells. In the meantime, Bud says, well, where's Bob? Bob went out to chase off the bear.
He approached the door, hand on the sill, and froze, eyes locked with it. Even now, the size, the closeness, still chills him. Encounters like this were almost unheard of. The creature leaned closer, peering inside. Expression unreadable. Not anger, not fear, only curiosity, wanting to understand what was happening inside. Returning from Jackpot Lake, he navigated a narrow, treacherous path. A rock wall pressed in on one side, a wild ravine on the other. No escape. Every step, he faced the unknown. An expert hunter, calm, yet the hairs on his neck rose. Then, steps away, a massive figure emerged, raw, primal presence. A guttural roar echoed through the canyon, freezing him in place.
Coming back from Jackpot Lake, you come by an area that there's a rock wall. Going up, it would be on your right side, and it's sloughed off into no man's land on the left. And it's pretty tight in there, a little bit of a falls. And this gentleman that I know, he's a hunter superb. He's very, very adept at what he does. Anyway, he was coming down the road, and you have to go past that spot. You can't get out of there if you don't go yet. Where you go in, you have to come out. And he looked in front of him at almost that same spot, and here was a Bigfoot standing in the road.
Something small but heavy hit him, breaking the silence on the bridge. At the far end, the creature crouched beneath a low branch, its massive frame barely hidden. Later, the branch measured over 8 feet from the ground, revealing the full size of the being lurking in the shadows. Jack knew people who faced them deep in the wild, places most would never dare. Their stories weren't just tales, they were chilling glimpses of a hidden world, waiting for someone brave enough to share the truth.
I've got friends that have seen them, that have been around them, and the stories that really need to be told somewhere along the line.
Decades of sightings, terrifying encounters, unexplained events. One question remains: what prowls these forests, watching from the shadows, waiting for the next person to get too close? In a Flash of Beauty, Bigfoot Revealed, seasoned researcher Eric Brad, who has spent years tracking elusive creatures through the dense forests of the Pacific Northwest, freezes as something moves just beyond the frame, too deliberate for falling debris, too heavy to be explained by wind. A tree snaps clean at the center, weaker branches untouched. Whatever did it acted fast, with intent. The question isn't if something was there, it's what had the strength to do it, unseen.
Moving, it almost looked like plant material falling down. Okay, so what did I just see here? Oh my goodness.
Wow. Pretty cool.
Yeah, so something had to have hit it really hard and really fast right in the middle to break it there, to not break these smaller pieces that are supporting it at either end.
Yeah, that had to have been,
Yeah.
like a thrust and not a hang, you know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? 'Cause if
something
if
hard
it'll
and
hunt on it.
fast.
Behind the camera, the two experiencers scanned the area. Then, a sudden movement streaked through the underbrush. Impossible to explain. It vanished almost as quickly as it appeared. The forest seemed to hold its breath. The researchers stared at empty space, questioning what they had just witnessed.
Did you see that?
Sam's been checking it out.
What the heck is it? There's something taken off right there. Did you see that?
Yeah.
Barb Shupe retraced the moment with her friend, pointing to the spot where everything changed. A fallen log hadn't been there before. It fell later. Across the clearing, a shadow surged. A solid black shape, triangular, headless, moving with terrifying speed. In a heartbeat, it darted away, limbs and hair a blur. Terrain, then each other, blocked their view. Only a fleeting glimpse of the impossible. Something had crossed the trail, unseen but undeniably real.
I looked right straight through across from over here, and I saw this black head pop up. He was about so high, triangular shape. There was no neck. He was solid black. He turned and ran that way. He was all arms and legs and hair. And my friend Sam was right here. I saw the tree here blocked the view for me for a second, and then I saw him just a little bit more there, and then Sam turned and stepped and blocked my view. And at that point, we thought maybe he had crossed the trail and the people on the trail were going to get the sighting.
Eric's eyes locked on the spot where the movement began, a sudden vertical ripple through the foliage. Instinct told him to watch the foreground, a lone branch swaying gently. Was it being pulled by something? For tense moments, nothing moved. Only the eerie stillness of the forest. The air felt charged, as if an unseen force had left its mark, waiting for someone sharp enough to notice.
Is in the region where this movement, this vertically downward movement is taking place. I'm looking to see whether there are any effects on the stuff in the foreground, right? You know how there's that hanging, that brown branch. And so that's the first place my attention is drawn, is to see whether the stuff in the foreground is somehow drawn into the effect. And I don't see that.
Barb realized everything she'd imagined was real. The impossible appeared in the forest. A dark head surged into view, then vanished, moving with thriller-like speed. Watching it on a small screen didn't do it justice. Only on a larger projection did the full scale and shock hit. This wasn't a fleeting glimpse. Her camera could never capture it fully. Something, or someone, grabbed Barb with crushing force. She gasped, heart hammering. Then came sounds from the shadows, sharp, relentless, moving closer, echoing through trees and water. They were no longer observers. Danger was real. Adrenaline surged. Barb and her friend abandoned their gear, stumbling through the underbrush. The forest swallowed their retreat. Neither dared to look back at the darkness chasing them.
The things that surround this experience gives you lessons, you know? It's not just that Sasquatch exists, it's that Sasquatch can do this and this and this. Oh wait, and he can do this too. Huh, that kind of thing.
I could just sit here and scrub this back and forth for an hour. This thing that you've shown me here on this tablet is kind of troubling and interesting at the same time. I haven't seen anything like this in the context of Bigfoot.
What moved through the forest so suddenly? A shadow, or something intelligent, dangerous, watching their every step. Even as they fled, the memory and the fear refused to fade. On Exploring with Angelo, the camera rolls as he picks a spot to move forward. The silence stretches. Then something shifts. A faint, deliberate sound echoes from beyond the trees. Whatever caused it, the forest no longer feels empty.
It's stuck. Sometimes we end up with issues. There we go. Sounds better. I hear something. I don't know what that is, though.
Angelo hears an unfamiliar sound from the river. Low, drawn out, unsettling. Nothing like any wildlife he knows. It lingers, raising questions without answers. Night presses in. He starts a fire, seeking comfort. But the flame won't reveal what moves unseen in the darkness.
I was hearing some, strange noises kind of down the river that way. It sounded like some weird moaning. Maybe there's a Bigfoot out here or something. Who knows? I sure do not know. Yeah, see, it looks like it wants to catch, but it's gonna need a little bit of help.
The woods were silent, the cold creeping in as night fell. A camper had ventured here, and something crossed their path, leaving them shaken, never to return. Near where the river meets the lake, rumors speak of a hidden sinkhole. Now, the story comes to light, and the forest seems to guard a secret it refuses to reveal.
And it is creepy. Somebody was camping somewhere in these woods. I don't know exactly where. Man, it is getting freaking cold. But yeah, they saw something out here. Apparently something that literally freaked them out to the point where I don't think they're ever coming back. So this was not too long ago, it says. So this happened to me last week. I'm still having trouble sleeping. I was camping near the Wahanapete River. I apologize, I cannot say that properly. Not far from where it runs into the lake.
Drawn by the forest's eerie reputation, Angelo set up camp where few dared. In the dead of night, the stillness broke. Soft, deliberate splashes in the water, no ordinary creature. In the moonlight, a shadowy figure moved along the riverbank. Elongated limbs, a narrow, misshapen head, movements that defied nature. The air felt heavy, as if the forest were holding its breath. Had curiosity led him too far?
But I like creepy stuff, so I figured, why not camp there for a couple of nights? It was a second night around 1:30 in the morning when I woke up to splashing, not like fish jumping, more like someone walking in shallow water. I unzipped my tent a bit and peeked out. The moon was bright enough to see the riverbank, but at first I didn't see anything. Then I noticed something moving. At first I thought it was a person in a wetsuit, hunched over, walking up the shallows, but the proportions were wrong. Too long in the arms, too narrow in the head. It moved awkwardly like it was fighting gravity. I whispered, "Hello?" because apparently I make bad life choices.
The figure paused unnaturally, as if the forest itself had gone silent around it. When it turned, the shape of its face sent a chill down his spine. Elongated, ghostly pale, with dark, hollow eyes that seemed to swallow the faint moonlight. A strange, wet sound came from its mouth, alive in the silence. Then, with a sudden, fluid motion, it slipped into the depths of the river. No ripple, no trace, just a haunting emptiness where moments before, something unthinkable had been.
The face wasn't human. It was pale, stretched, with black eyes that didn't reflect in the moonlight. That's creepy. That's probably one of the creepiest parts. Its mouth opened just a little too wide, and I could hear the water running down its throat. It tilted its head like it was curious, and then dropped onto all fours and bolted straight into the deeper water. No splash when it went under, just gone.
A sound cut through the night, deliberate, heavy, moving just beyond the riverbank. Each step pressed the shallow water, chilling the air, darkening the forest. Instinct screamed danger. Every shadow seemed alive. Something or someone was out there, watching, waiting for the perfect moment.
There's something out there. I thought for a second maybe like a fish jumped out of the water, but what I heard was definitely not a fish. Made my heart stop. Like it legit, it sounded like somebody walking through.
Suddenly, something dark and fleeting crossed the road with unnatural speed. He froze, real or shadow trick. Then it vanished into darkness, leaving only unsettling silence. The forest felt alive, watching, the unease lingering long after it disappeared. Something, dark, silent and impossibly still, was crouched beside a tree, watching. For a heartbeat, it didn't move, and the forest seemed to hold its breath along with him. Then, as if deciding he wasn't worth the effort, it vanished into the darkness, leaving only a chilling emptiness, and the unnerving certainty that he had just glimpsed something not meant to be seen.
Oh, what did I just see? What was that? Oh my god. No, 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 no. Oh, shit. I just saw something like sitting in the bush next to the tree. Oh my god. Something was literally just there. Oh. Oh man. Oh, that was fucking scary. I don't know what the hell that was.
The camera caught a shadowy figure surging from darkness with impossible speed. In an instant, it vanished, leaving deafening silence and the unnerving truth: the forest was watching. Small-town monsters took us into Allegheny National Forest for a night that began ordinary, but quickly became unforgettable. Alongside Sean and Matt, we met local researchers, Paul, Jeff, and Julie, quietly observing these woods for years. Calm and patient, they never provoked, yet the forest responded in ways we couldn't explain. Something was watching, not if, but why it chose to reveal itself.
Interesting night. We drove out to Allegheny National Forest with Sean and Matt. We met up with some local researchers. We hung out with Paul and Jeff and Julie. We learned a lot about the research techniques they've been employing out here for the last few years. More interestingly, we learned about the results they've been getting from those research techniques. And they've encountered a lot of what we think of as, I guess, atypical Bigfoot activity. They've had footprints. They've heard vocalizations. They've had things thrown into their campsite, heavy footfalls, and they emphasize a really non-aggressive approach.
The forest always held secrets, and this corner of Allegheny National Forest felt heavier than most. In October 2021, Matt Arner joined a small private trip. Pulling into a secluded campsite, the quiet pressed in from all sides, hinting that something unseen was watching. What seemed ordinary was about to become extraordinary.
It holds a special meaning to me in terms of my my research and my experiences. So this area here is just to the north side of the primary area of the Allegheny National Forest. It's still part of the National Forest. In October of 2021, we were doing a small private expedition, just a few of us. Just by luck, I came up here on a Saturday, pulled into this dispersed campsite.
Stepping into the clearing, barely a stone's throw in, a fresh mark appeared in the mud. Perfect, deliberate. Heart racing, they photographed it. But even as the camera clicked, a chilling thought lingered. Whatever made this print was still out there, watching.
And I went up there probably about 100, 150 yards, and I found a fresh print in the mud. And what happened, I looked at the angle of the trackway. It came up at a diagonal across the path. It was an exceptional print. I was very excited about it. I took some pictures.
He spread out a map, trying to make sense of the trails. Then, from a distance near his vehicle, a single tree shook violently, leaves raining down, while every other tree stood still. The wind barely stirred. Something unseen had taken hold of it. A sudden sound cut through the silence, sharp, haunting. A single distant howl echoed through the darkness. They paused. The forest seemed to hold its breath. Every rustle magnified the feeling. Something unseen was close, watching, waiting. The howl faded, but its presence lingered. A chilling reminder the woods were far from empty.
Did you hear that? I know, and I just got goosebumps. Yes.
Do you want to play that howl? Just part of it.
Right.
Play like one howl and stop it and see if... Okay. Do you hear that?
That's part of it.
A sudden gleam caught their eyes, a fleeting, deliberate shine in the darkness. It rose, crouched, turned its head, then stood again. Moving stealthily behind a large tree, it shifted back and to the right, always just out of view. Every movement was deliberate, unnervingly calm. It never ran, watching, observing, testing their every step.
That to me, At one point, it looked like it was standing up. It crouched down and turned its head and then stood back up.
Oh, I see it. It's like it's peeking behind the tree.
It's moved down
That's
there.
not where it
Oh, I
was.
see
Yep.
it.
There again.
Watch it, Gwen.
Careful.
It's on the other side of that big tree.
It moved a little back and to the right. There again. There it is. Oh.
He traced his gaze to a small, empty space, certain that's where it had appeared. Perhaps slightly to the left near a cluster of trees, it had lingered, just enough to be seen yet hidden in the shadows. The memory of its presence hung heavy in the air, a silent reminder that something had watched from the darkness and might still be there, unseen.
There's two kind of together, and then there's another one, that little empty space there. I believe that's where it was.
Right.
Possibly more to the left, where we have this other tree. 3, 4, 5 trees, you know, no more than that. But that's where I saw it at.
The campsite fell into uneasy silence, broken by deliberate footfalls in the shadows. A faint phone light flickered, trembling across the ground. Darkness pressed closer, heavy and unyielding. Every subtle sound magnified. Something unseen moved just beyond the glow, patient, deliberate, impossibly close, leaving the night charged with icy dread.
And all of a sudden, we start hearing some footfalls coming through the campsite. So we're laying there, we hear the footfalls going, and then all of a sudden I see this little cell phone light pop on inside the sleeping bag. And Dustin was like, "You hear that?" I'm like, "Yeah, I hear it." We're getting ready to get out, and all of a sudden we start seeing the faint glow come up.
At that moment, Ray felt it, a chilling brush through the thin tent fabric. Barely there, yet unmistakable, as if something unseen reached inside. Silence pressed in, shadows twisted, every heartbeat echoing the terrifying thought it was close, watching, waiting.
And so we go back into the tent, and we're here for what, probably about another hour, Dave. Nothing happens. Nothing happens. Now, at this point, Ray said he felt something brush against him in the tent, that he felt something touch him through the tent.
The forest revealed glimpses, whispers, fleeting signs, but nothing explained what watched from the shadows. Was it just a creature of the woods, or something far stranger, choosing when and how to be seen? What will it do next? Meet the Animal Planet team on a mission to uncover truths behind legends few dare to question. Guided by John and Tintin, local insiders with connections across the Hawaiian Islands, they meet carefully gathered Menehune witnesses atop a massive plantation high on a tropical hill. Beneath the paradise, an ancient mystery waits, rooted in whispers, fear, and stories that refuse to stay buried.
John and Tintin have really helped us out. They have connections all over these Hawaiian islands, and they've gathered the best of their Menehune witnesses for us here tonight. What an amazing place to meet with our Menehune witnesses. We're at the top of a hill on a gigantic plantation on a tropical paradise island. You can't beat this.
The evening begins with a warm welcome, but unease soon settles in. The host admits he believes the Menehune are real, but their nature remains a mystery. He is here to uncover what most only whisper about. Then, in the thick tropical air, one question is asked. Has anyone seen or heard something they couldn't explain? Silence hangs, before hands slowly rise.
Aloha, Hawaii. Aloha. Thanks for coming out. I believe Menehunes are real. I don't know that much about them. I'm here to learn more.
So please, if you think you've encountered or heard a Menehune at some point, please raise your hand.
John Flaherty, a lifelong resident of Hawaii's Big Island, shares a story that changed everything. Years ago, a single encounter convinced him the Menehune are real, not just legends. Hunting deep in the forest, he and his companions froze. Between them lay footprints, impossibly small. No child could have left them. No one would venture that deep with a child.
My name's John Flaherty. I live on the Big Island. Many years ago, I had an experience that made me believe Menehunes are very much real. We were hunting deep in the forest, and as we looked at each other, right between us were foot tracks. And these were the size of a kid that you would expect to be 2 to 3 years old. nobody would take a kid where we were. It was just unheard of.
Billy DaCosta recounts an encounter that left him questioning everything. Deep in a secluded valley, he followed a narrow rock face into a hidden cave. There, stone features appeared deliberately shaped by hand, including a bench far too small for an average person. Billy never saw a creature and remains unsure what to believe. Yet the structure told a story, made for someone no taller than a child, or something else entirely.
My name is Billy DaCosta. I have a Manihuni experience, not a sighting. Way back in this hidden valley, I made my way around a ledge into a cave. In the back of the cave, I remember distinctively sitting on a stone bench that looked like somebody carved with stone tools. I never saw a Manihuni. I'm not sure if I believe in the Manihuni. I do know that I saw a home that was built for a smaller person. If I had to give an approximate height, I would say this person might have been between 3.5 to 4 foot tall.
Payahi Spencer, a native of Hawaii's Big Island, shares an experience that changed her beliefs forever. In 1988, she dismissed the Menehune as legend, until 6 years later, her young niece spotted a small, unexplained figure in a photograph. Myth became certainty. The stories were not folklore, they were real.
My name is Payahi Spencer. I'm from the Big Island. In 1988, I got married, but 6 years later, my little niece was looking at one of our pictures and she saw a little Menehune in there. Before this, I believed it was a myth, but I know that it's not a myth anymore. You know, it's for real.
About 10 years ago, Albert Hegeman had an experience that still haunts him. Walking a quiet forest trail, he noticed small, inexplicable creatures perched among the tree ferns. Round, furry, with distinct expressive faces. Each one watched him calmly, eyes following every movement without fear or aggression. Detached, yet aware, they seemed to understand him. Albert realized he had glimpsed something beyond comprehension, a hidden world parallel to our own, lurking in the forest shadows.
My name's Albert Hegeman. Some years back, I guess about 10 years ago, I was walking on the trail and I look up and I saw 3 creatures sitting in a tree fern that I couldn't explain to you what they were. These 3 little creatures that were sort of about this big, and they were like little round fur balls except for their faces. And the other thing that seemed really weird was their demeanor. They were very nonchalant and they were kind of looking at me like without any apprehension, or they were like 3 people looking at me.
A chilling reminder, you can explore every trail, study every footprint, and still never be ready for the realization that something intelligent, deliberate, unseen is silently watching from the shadows. Story 1. On Animal Planet, the search for the unknown takes investigators into America's most remote corners. In this episode, the team splits across the Four Corners region, following up on chilling encounters from their last visit. While some track new leads, Cliff heads into Arizona to meet Johnny and Carol. Their story suggests the activity hasn't faded. It has intensified. Just 2 weeks ago, Carol and her daughter came face to face with a massive figure standing in the middle of the road, a sighting that raises a terrifying question: is Bigfoot still out there? The witness was certain it was nothing ordinary. For a brief moment, the massive presence stepped into view before retreating into the darkness. Locals warn never to interfere with forces they don't understand, because once you do, they say, it will teach you why it should have been left alone. That's why many avoid these roads after nightfall. Out here, the dark is neither empty nor forgiving.
She said it wasn't a horse or a cow or a bear.
Clearly, she could tell that it was something
Yes.
large, like
It
a
was
horse
large,
or a cow
yeah,
or a bear.
something very large that came and went straight back in. You're taught not to mess with stuff like that, so you just don't bother it.
I think if the culture doesn't teach you not to mess with them, once you mess with a Bigfoot or two, it'll teach you not to mess with it, right? Even though the Bigfoot activity has been ongoing since I left, there seems to be a concentration of reports right now at this time of year.
The investigation moves to Utah's San Juan River, where the team meets Navajo elder and master tracker Leonard Dan. Decades ago, Leonard kayaked these waters and experienced an encounter that changed everything. Though his sighting dates to the 1970s, his reputation as a tracker and witness is legendary, and today, he may hold the key to new answers.
Leonard's sighting was in the 70s, but because he's a well-respected elder on the reservation and an expert animal tracker, people bring their Bigfoot reports to him.
The investigator asks about recent activity, and Leonard confirms several reports, including a chilling incident near a deep ravine. Claudia agrees to guide the team down the trail. The event happened less than 2 weeks ago, and the witness is waiting to show them exactly where something stepped out of the darkness.
Oh, this is not far from your house at all.
Oh, no.
Now, I haven't heard this report before, so can you run me through all the details?
Yeah, of course. I was just taking a morning walk, and as I was going down there, my dogs seemed startled, like they were panicked. I heard noises from the ravine. I started to smell something horrible. That's when I could see the figure.
Fear gripped her as she recalled the encounter. She never saw the creature fully, paralyzed by shock and uncertainty, but glimpses were enough. Head, shoulders, torso, and arms. No mistaking it for a human. Its thick matted hair, rough and tangled like dreadlocks, left no doubt. This was something otherworldly.
I was scared. I've never seen anything like this.
At any point, did you get a full look at its entire body?
No. I was in shock. I didn't know what it was. I was scared of it. I didn't know if it would, like, attack me or anything.
So you saw its upper body?
Yes.
Meaning its head, shoulders, torso. And the arms?
Yes.
No way it was a person.
I don't think this was a human.
Could you tell if it was clothing? Could you tell if it was fur? Could you tell if it was hair?
It definitely was hairy fur, like mangy, almost dreadlocky.
After hearing strange noises, catching the foul smell, and finally seeing the figure move through the shadows, she knew the truth. Whatever it was real, and still out there, lurking in the darkness.
So when you heard that noise, and you smelled the smell, and then you caught sight of that figure moving through, what do you think it was that you saw?
I believe it was a Bigfoot.
There's no way it was a person.
No way it was a person. I was a skeptic before. I never thought I would ever see it. But now I know it's around here.
Meanwhile, in Colorado, Bobo heads into the rugged wilderness to meet George, who captured a video of what he claims is a baby Bigfoot resting in a tree.
I'm glad to be back in Colorado now that it's summertime. I'm gonna go meet with George right now. He's the guy that recorded a video what he says is a baby Bigfoot sleeping in a tree. The place George took this video so far into the backcountry, we'll never get there before dark. But I have a plan B, and B is for an idea.
The location is remote, but Bobo is prepared.
From here, it was -26 that night. It was freezing. Now it's green and warm.
Can't have it better than this, though.
I mean, it's obviously too late to get hike up to that spot. You said it's a couple miles, but I got the thermal and stuff. We could do a night investigation. Just go out tomorrow up to the spot where you got the video.
Sounds good.
Let's go grab the therm and suit up.
All right.
With thermal cameras and tracking gear, they revisit the site, a hotspot of repeated activity where knocks and other unexplained sounds have echoed through the woods. Across Arizona, Utah, and Colorado, these encounters continue. But as Bobo and George step deeper into the shadows, one question remains: what exactly is still out there? On Flash of Beauty, Bigfoot Revealed, Kim Christensen takes viewers back to her childhood along Oregon's southern coast. Dense forests, winding rivers, and the ocean only a few miles away. Growing up on a homestead, she developed a deep bond with the wilderness, a connection that would later guide her experiences with the unexplained.
Hi, I'm Kim Christensen. I grew up in the southern Oregon coast in a beautiful region with timber and rivers, and the ocean is just a few miles from my home. So I grew up on a homestead here. When I first heard about Bigfoot, I was about 6 years old. And I grew up on a homestead and lived with my grandmother. And we had just gotten our TV set, so my family would come over to visit for Sunday night, and after dinner we would all watch TV as a family.
Kim first learned about Bigfoot around the age of 6, living with her grandmother on the homestead. One Sunday evening, after dinner, the family watched a TV show about mysterious monsters. A scene showing a massive figure peering through a window terrified her. When the episode ended, her Uncle Hans shared his own encounter from years before, a story that would ignite Kim's lifelong fascination with the unexplained.
I believe it was mysterious monsters, and there was this monster looking in somebody's living room window, and it was scary. And as soon as the episode was over, my Uncle Hans, he got up and shut the TV off, and he told us all about his Bigfoot encounter that happened when he was younger. And I'm just a little kid, and I'm sitting there thinking, there's no monsters. What is he talking about?
Her uncle's story stayed with Kim. One dark night, driving through twisting roads of old-growth forest, he saw something enormous step into the path ahead. The creature towered over his truck, letting out a roar that seemed to shake the air itself. Terrified, he could do nothing but slowly back up, heart racing, as the forest closed in around him.
And he told my grandma that on his way home, it was after dark, and this big creature stepped out of the forest in front of his truck, and it turned and leaned over and screamed at him in his face through the windshield. And he described it as being taller than the truck. He said it scared him so bad he put the truck in reverse and backed all the way out of Seven Devils.
Years later, curiosity drew Kim back to the forest, this time with her own children. She spent a summer along a quiet river on a small mining claim, settling into a rustic cabin deep in the woods with her 2 sons and their dog. Using only kerosene lamps and a wood stove, the family embraced the simple, adventurous charm of forest life, a life that mirrored Kim's own childhood and promised discoveries yet to unfold.
And then in the 90s, I leased a mining claim up one of our local rivers for the summer. And my kids were with me, and we were going to spend the entire summer, just camping out in the woods in this neat little cabin. It reminded me of the homestead because there was no power, no water. We had kerosene lamps and a wood cook stove, and it was just so cute, and it was going to be a fun summer.
The remote wilderness was breathtaking. Kim spent the day exploring while her children played among the trees. By nightfall, the boys were asleep, and Kim extinguished the flickering lantern. Suddenly, a thunderous impact shook the cabin like a freight train. Heart pounding, she stood in the darkness, struggling to process what had just occurred.
Something hit the side of the cabin like a freight train, like really hard. And I'm standing there in the dark, just trying to understand what was going on. I grabbed my firearm. I'm standing there in the dark, listening to this thing beating on the side of the wall. It was like bam, bam, bam.
The surrounding forest was alive with hidden possibilities. Shadows moved between the trees, and openings in the underbrush could hide anything. Creatures just out of sight, watching. Beautiful and captivating, the woods kept Kim on edge, every rustle and whisper amplified in the quiet wilderness.
I think it'd be hiding in these little holes in this forest. Like, it's really, it's a cool environment. There could be something just right around the corner, and you'd never know it.
At the top of a small rise, Kim froze. Enormous bare footprints marked the forest floor, impossibly large and unmistakable. Sunlight revealed them in stark detail. At first, she shook her head, disbelief coursing through her. But the size left no doubt. For the first time, her uncle's story hit with sharp clarity. Some legends were closer to the truth than she ever imagined.
Got up to the top of this mound, I saw these big human-shaped footprints, like barefoot. And I'm standing there, it's early morning, beautiful sunny day, and I'm looking at these tracks going, what kind of crazy person would be up in the mountains barefoot after this big storm we just had? It didn't make sense. And then I'm looking at the tracks again, and I realized they're about 20 inches.
Kim felt she was facing a human-like figure, but clearly not human. Its shape hovered between the familiar and the unknown. Unlike any animal she had seen, the way it moved suggested an unsettling intelligence, as if it understood far more than it should.
It was really hard to describe. It didn't seem like an animal to me. Very, very intelligent.
So what truly lurks in these forests, and would it ever be seen again? On Flash of Beauty, Bigfoot revealed, every story begins with a witness, and this one leads straight into Oregon's rugged wilderness. Larry Turner, a lifelong Oregonian from the Portland area, recalls the moment his life changed forever. In 1981, while elk hunting near the Forest Grove region along the highway toward Tillamook, Larry encountered something he couldn't explain. His first brush with the Bigfoot phenomenon. What started as a routine hunt quickly became an encounter with the unknown.
I'm from the Portland area, a native Oregonian, and I'm asked about my first experience. My first experience with the phenomena of Bigfoot happened in 1981. I was elk hunting between Hague Lake, which is Forest Grove area, and Highway 6 towards Tillamook.
Larry chose the skid road, a safer route than forcing his way through dense underbrush. About 10 minutes in, an uneasy feeling settled over him, a nervous chill that refused to fade. He kept moving, then stopped cold. Every hair on his neck and arms stood on end, as if the shadows themselves had come alive. Something was out there, moving silently, watching. He had never felt a presence so intense, so aware.
I found this skid road, a real old one. So I started walking up the skid road, which is better than beating the brush. About 10 minutes in, I didn't feel right. There was something kind of wrong. I felt really nervous. So I jacked around into my 30-06 and started walking up the hill, up the skid road.
As though the forest itself was waiting, calculating. Out of the corner of his eye, something moved, a shadow slipping through the brush. Larry turned slowly, his breath catching as fragments came into view. The swing of an arm, the bend of a knee, the outline of a torso. It didn't react like any known animal. Instead of fleeing, it lingered, deliberate, aware, watching him. The unease intensified with every step. To his left, toward the west, something moved, keeping pace with him in a steady, unsettling rhythm. Then it happened, a deep, guttural sound unlike anything he had ever heard.
And the next thing I know, I stopped and my hair standing up on the back of my neck, hair standing up on my arms, and I can't figure out what's going on. I've been around bear, I've been around cougar, been around all the apex predators, and I've never felt like this before. So then I'm take a step and I catch something on my periphery vision, and there's this black figure in this brush.
Fear surged instantly. The forest had changed, and he knew, without question, he was no longer alone. Heavy footfalls moved around the tent, slow, deliberate, tightening the darkness with each pass. Suddenly, the dog bolted in panic, diving into the sleeping bag and trembling uncontrollably. Larry's mother held him close as he shook with fear. This wasn't how an animal reacted to a bear or a cougar. This was pure terror. Then came the sound, low, unfamiliar, and chilling, unlike anything they had ever heard before. Down the road, a dark figure suddenly appeared, impossible to miss. At first, it looked like a man dressed in black, standing motionless at the roadside. But as he approached, the illusion shattered. The figure stepped into the road with startling speed. It was enormous, towering, broad, unmistakably male. A Sasquatch. It took 2, maybe 3 deliberate steps across the road, time slowing as the impossible unfolded in full view. That moment changed everything. Belief turned to certainty the instant their eyes met. The creature's size and the deliberate way it revealed itself left no room for doubt. This wasn't coincidence. It felt intentional. He had driven that road countless times, and in that instant, he sensed the being knew exactly who he was.
Seen a knee, seen a leg, thigh, seen a chest, but not the entire subject? Who do you tell? The fascinating thing that I want to preface about this is that this area where I had this experience of being touched, if you will, by as a crow flies, was 6 miles from that area.
And that he was there. For Larry, the true reward was simply being in the woods. Bigfoot sightings were rare, just icing on the cake. What mattered most was the connection to nature, the balance it restored. Too many people had lost that instinct, that need to immerse themselves in the wild. It was this bond with the environment that made the experience unlike anything else. After every shadow, every sound, and every encounter with the impossible, one question remains. What else is out there, just beyond sight, in the forests we think we know? The YouTube channel Salish Sasquatch, real-life researchers step forward to share the journeys that shaped their belief in the unknown. One such explorer is Boyd Omer, a New Mexico resident who has devoted nearly 2 decades to the study of Bigfoot. His fascination began in childhood, inspired by mysterious footprints found on Mount Everest and haunting photographs. By 2005, Boyd launched his first official expedition, driven by a lifelong curiosity fueled by late-night radio interviews with legendary broadcaster Art Bell. What started as wonder soon became a mission to uncover the truth hidden in the wilderness.
My name is Boyd Omer. I currently live in New Mexico. Been involved in Bigfoot research, exploration, learning about it as much as I can since I was about 2005. My first official expedition and learning and getting involved in it. I went to an expedition in Oklahoma where I heard like the samurai type chatter, one of these things, a couple of them talking, had rocks thrown at me.
During an expedition in Oklahoma, a routine investigation became anything but ordinary. As night fell, Boyd heard strange echoing calls, unlike any animal he knew, rippling through the trees, as if unseen creatures were communicating just beyond the shadows. Then, without warning, rocks flew from a nearby road, landing dangerously close, a chilling reminder that they were being watched. The forest had transformed into a silent predator, and every step felt tense, measured, observed. This was only the beginning. Later expeditions into the Pacific Northwest only deepened the mystery, leaving Boyd certain that something unknown still stalks America's most remote forests.
Expedition in Oklahoma where I heard like the samurai type chatter, one of these things, a couple of them talking, had rocks thrown at me, like a road parallel. That was an interesting trip.
During that expedition, he stumbled upon an encounter that would stay with him long after the trip ended. Several miles from their main camp, a shadow moved at the edge of the forest, larger than anything they had expected. Branches cracked under its sheer size as it brushed past, revealing a figure that towered over 8 feet tall. The moment felt suspended in time, a silent reminder that the wilderness still held secrets far beyond human understanding.
And at that expedition, there was a visual sighting of one of them in our main base camp, different place than where that pulsation happened, but not too far away from there, maybe about 5 miles away from there. Somebody saw one of them come into the camp, and they were able to ascertain how big the thing was, and it was like about 8 feet tall because it passed out of the camp.
In the heart of the wilderness, 2 researchers on a trek to a hidden lake, miles deep into a wilderness few had ever seen. The journey alone tested them. Over 7 miles of untamed terrain, each step taking them farther from the world they knew. At the water's edge, they discovered footprints that defied explanation.
Hike up to this remote lake with 2 researchers, and they have a small type Bigfoot, like it's these prints with thermal ridges, and the shape of the foot is not human. It's more non-human in the shape of the tendons in the bottom of the feet, and are just doing some research on that. It's a very remote area. It took it was over a 7-mile backpacking trip just to get to the lake.
The ridges, the arches, Even the tendons in the soles hinted at a being not human. In the stillness of that remote wilderness, the prints seemed alive, as if the forest itself had left a message, one that dared them to uncover what truly lurked in the shadows.
The shape of the foot is not human. It's more non-human in the shape of the tendons in the bottom of the feet. And just doing some research on that. It's a very remote area. It took it was over a 7-mile backpacking trip just to get to the lake.
Do you think they're young ones, or do you think it could be like some type of pygmy Bigfoot?
I think it's like a pygmy type because they don't see any other print size like that.
Each print was massive, perfectly aligned in a rigid, deliberate line, as if whatever had made them moved with purpose and control. The spacing between steps suggested a creature of immense reach, a stride that even a tall man would have to stretch to match. Time and the elements had softened the impressions, yet their depth and precision hinted at power and intent. The forest seemed to hold its breath around these traces, a silent witness to something extraordinary passing through, something no one could fully explain.
It's like a 7.5 inch and 6.5 inch prints that they've seen up there. So 7.5 inches, approximately, a little bit washed out. But isn't a tightrope, so one's right in front of the other. I mean, directly in front. There's no splay. It was just like this. And it was 32 inches from tip of the toe to the heel, which is, I tried to do the step myself, and it was like, I'm 6'1", and it was like a reach for me to make that stride.
Rumors had long whispered through the region of a small bipedal figure, a being that resembled a human, yet carried an otherworldly presence. Locals spoke of fleeting glimpses, shadows glimpsed at the edge of the forest, and movements too quick to fully track. To those who had seen it, the creature seemed real, yet impossible. A mysterious inhabitant of the wilderness that refused to be understood.
There's rumors that exists, so it's like a small bipedal human-type being.
After decades of expeditions, mysterious sounds, towering shadows, and unexplainable footprints, Boyd and his team have seen enough to know the wilderness still hides secrets. Yet for every glimpse, every trace, the answers remain just out of reach. Yet this isn't where the story ends. The forests still hide secrets, shadows shift in ways we cannot explain, and the questions left behind refuse to stay silent. Every step into the unknown brings new chills, and every sound may be more than it seems. Stay with us because what lies ahead will challenge everything you thought you knew about the creatures that watch from the darkness.